Hey guys, and welcome to an Aspie's Point of View, where I give you my opinion on stuff. Today I wanted to discuss Season 3, Episode 5 of The Good Doctor. Again, I do want to apologize for no video last week. I was quite ill and I did not want to mess around with the webcam again because that was terrible. So there are a couple things that I wanted to focus on in this video. Obviously, the show tonight focused on Sean's first lead surgery, but there were also aspects of relationship that I want to touch on as well. So, the first thing that I wanted to touch on was the fact that Dr. Andrews found that Dr. Lim was coddling Sean, and Dr. Lim found that Dr. Andrews was being very difficult on him. So basically, Sean was given a very easygoing patient. The surgery was taken from another doctor and given to Sean by Dr. Lim. And when it came time to deliver bad news, Dr. Lim was again helpful to Sean in saying that the other surgeon should deliver the bad news because of Sean's communication difficulties. And Dr. Andrews was not having it, and he made Sean deliver the news. And obviously, it did not go well. Dr. Lim had known that was going to happen. She knew there was a chance that he would lose the surgery. And so she was trying to prevent that from happening. And unfortunately, for a moment, he did. Now, that being said, Dr. Lim seems like the person who will go to extreme lengths for her surgeons, because she went in, stood up for Sean, and got him that surgery back. One of the things that Dr. Andrews said that stuck out to me was, "You're ruining Sean." He was basically saying that by coddling him, you are creating a problem because you're creating a perfect situation that will not be seen in real life. And I can say that to a certain extent, I agree with this. Not necessarily in this particular case, because, your first surgery, you don't want the surgeon to be completely terrified. But certainly in life, if you're constantly coddling someone, they're not going to grow, they're not going to advance, they're not going to become the person that they should become because they're being coddled. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn once I moved here to Texas, I wanted to move back home. And my parents said that I could do so if I got an apartment and lived on my own. And I couldn't figure out why. I was so upset that they didn't want me anymore. But it wasn't that they didn't want me, it was that they couldn't coddle me anymore. I had lived a life independently, and they didn't want me to lose that independence. Now, in this case, they were trying to give Sean independence. And Dr. Lim and Dr. Andrews were going about it in different ways. Dr. Lim wanted to give Sean independence slowly and kind of spoon feed it to him. And Dr. Andrews wanted to make sure that if Sean was being given this responsibility, he was ready for all aspects of this responsibility. And so it was just very interesting to see the contrast between the two doctors. Another thing that I noticed was Sean had a dream sequence where he is talking to his brother about the what ifs. And I go through the what ifs all the time. My life is a constant series of what if. What if this happens, and then that leads to this happening, and then that leads to this happening. And more so than that, I find that I am seeking advice from people who are no longer here. And I don't mean I talk to dead people. I mean I speak aloud and direct my question towards a particular person. Carol, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, someone who I love, someone who I know would be able to help me solve the problem. And I basically do have a conversation with myself and try to work out what the answer to the conundrum is. And in this particular way, we saw Sean doing that in a dream sequence. And I actually was really jealous because throughout the show, Sean sees his brother several times, and I only can ever imagine them being there, but never see a person because part of my Asperger's is that without looking at a person or looking at a picture of a person, I don't really know what they look like. I am unable to describe a person. I am unable to formulate a picture of them in my mind. And so it's something I just thought everyone lived that way, but apparently they don't. So that was something that I identified with, but I was really jealous that he saw his brother as well as spoke to him, if you're following what I'm saying. Um, Another big thing was how to calm Sean. So in the middle of the surgery, Sean seemingly has a meltdown, and it takes the doctors a while to realize that he's not having a meltdown. He actually noticed something in the surgery and he's trying to process it. And the way to do that they've noticed was they were trying to get him to breathe and take deep breaths. That is one way to calm a person down. For me, if Matt is nearby, I go and listen to his heartbeat, and his heartbeat calms me down. Anything that's rhythmic, anything that can give you that type feeling, that calming feeling, is what you're focusing on. And that in particular was what I noticed with this episode. They were focused on the breathing. And even when Sean was discussing things with his brother in his dream, he was talking about breathing, blowing out the candles. And so I felt like they were definitely focused on how to calm down so that you can speak. There are other techniques such as deep pressure, grounding, looking around and seeing and saying everything that you see, but they chose to focus on this particular technique, and it is a good technique. And the very last thing I wanted to discuss was compromise in relationship. So Sean, at the very beginning of the episode, has set a timer for every 12 minutes that they will stop the movie and he and Carly will make out for a little while, and then they will start the movie again, and then the timer will go off and they'll make out, and the timer will go off again and they'll start the movie again. The issue with that, obviously for Carly, that's not enjoyable. But also it's very apparent that when Carly tries to do more than one thing, and Sean even says, I only like to touch one thing at a time. So he doesn't want her putting her hands on him while she is kissing him. And there definitely needs to be compromise in relationship, particularly with people who are on the spectrum, because it is harder for us to deal with human touch. And if you have someone who has been traumatized before by human touch, that makes it even more difficult. But you need to find compromise, and there are different ways to do that, but the show was definitely pointing towards the best way being to talk to your significant other, not to hold things in, but to make sure that you make it clear what is good with you and what is not good with you, so that you don't run into issues in your relationship later on down the road. So those were my thoughts about this episode. If you liked this video, give a like. You can hit the subscribe button if you want to hear more from me, and certainly leave any comments down below about what you thought about this episode, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.